I still can't quite wrap my head around what my father said to me today. It felt like the floor dropped out beneath me, like everything I knew about my relationship with him just shattered in an instant. We were talking, as we sometimes do, about safety, how to handle break-ins, and what we should do in case something ever happened. It was a casual conversation at first, but then he dropped a bombshell that has been haunting me ever since. He told me, matter-of-factly, that if someone were to break into our home, he wouldn't lift a finger to protect me. I couldn't even process the words at first. Was he joking? Was this some kind of twisted test? But no, his face remained as serious as ever. His eyes didn't waver. He meant it. It gets worse, though. He didn't just say that he wouldn't protect me. He went on to explain that I wouldn't be allowed to defend myself either. He said that if an intruder came in, I was supposed to just sit there, do nothing, and wait for the situation to resolve itself. I felt a chill crawl up my spine as he spoke. How could he possibly expect me to just let myself be a victim? To rely on some outside force or hope that things would magically work out? My mind raced. The anger started bubbling up from somewhere deep inside of me. How could a father, a protector, say something like that? How could he tell his own child that in the face of danger, not only would he stand by doing absolutely nothing, but that I too was expected to do the same? It's like he was telling me my life wasn't worth fighting for, that I wasn't even worthy of defending my own safety. I don't even know what to feel anymore. The anger is still there, but so is a heavy sadness. To hear those words come from someone who is supposed to have your back, someone who should be your first line of defense in the world, it cuts deeper than I can even explain. It's like he's saying that my well-being doesn't matter enough to fight for. And to top it all off, he wants me to just accept it, to let whatever happens happen, with no agency of my own. The more I think about it, the more I'm filled with a sense of betrayal. How could I have spent so many years thinking I was safe in this house, thinking my father would protect me from anything that came my way, only to realize that when it really matters, I'm on my own? I'm left wondering how I can ever look at him the same way again. How can I trust someone who would so willingly abandon me in the face of danger and worse, tell me I'm not even allowed to protect myself? It's a realization that is eating away at me. I'm left questioning everything I thought I knew about my relationship with him. And right now, all I can think about is how much I wish I had a father who would fight for me, who would defend me, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. But instead, I feel like I'm just an afterthought, someone who would have to fend for themselves when it matters most. I've been sitting with what my dad said for days now, and honestly, I'm still processing it all. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, anger, confusion, and just a sense of emptiness. I couldn't stop thinking about what he said, and the more I thought, the more unsettled I became. I couldn't just let it sit with me. I needed to confront him about it, get some kind of clarity. So I did. Yesterday, I sat down with him. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe an apology or at least an explanation that made sense. But what I got was nothing like that. I brought it up calmly at first, trying to understand where he was coming from. I told him how hurt I was by what he'd said and how it felt like a betrayal of everything I thought I knew about him, about being family, about having his back. And instead of remorse, instead of trying to make me feel safe, he just shrugged it off. He said something along the lines of, I'm just being realistic, and that in a real emergency, you need to stay calm and let the professionals handle it. When I pressed, asking if he truly wouldn't protect me in that situation, he doubled down. I'm not going to throw my life away for some stranger, he said. He kept emphasizing that I should take responsibility for my own safety, and if I couldn't do that, then I was just asking for trouble. It was like he was speaking to me like I was some kind of liability, not his child. I don't think I've ever felt so small in my entire life. It was like he wasn't even seeing me as his daughter anymore, just some stranger in his house who had no right to ask for his protection. I tried to explain how wrong it was, how even if he thought I should be prepared for anything, that didn't mean I should be left to fend for myself when the world was crashing in around me. But he wasn't listening. In his eyes, It was like everything he said was perfectly justified, and the conversation ended with him walking away, telling me to stop overreacting, that I was being too emotional. I felt so helpless, so utterly alone. So here I am, still reeling from that conversation. I can't stop thinking about the fact that he's not the man I thought he was, or at least he's not the man I thought he would be when it truly mattered. It's like my trust in him has been ripped apart, and I can't put the pieces back together. Part of me wonders if I should just accept it and move on, but another part is so angry that it's hard to even look at him without seeing red. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll ever feel safe in this house again, not with him. But I do know this. I can't keep waiting for someone who will never step up when it counts. Maybe it's time I start looking out for myself, because clearly no one else will. I've been thinking long and hard about everything that's happened since I posted that first story, and I'm finally at a point where I can share the last chapter of this mess. It's been a painful, eye-opening journey, but I think I've come to terms with the reality of it all. After that second conversation with my dad, where he doubled down on his stance about not protecting me and leaving me to fend for myself in a dangerous situation, things didn't get any better. In fact, they got worse. I spent days walking around the house, feeling like I was living with a stranger. The emotional distance between us felt like a chasm, and every time I looked at him, I was reminded that he wasn't the man I thought he was. The father I thought I had would have defended me, would have at least tried to protect me no matter what, but the person I was dealing with now seemed so cold, detached, and unwilling to be there for me in any meaningful way. So I made a decision. It wasn't an easy one, and honestly, I never thought I'd have to make it. I decided to move out. I couldn't keep living under the same roof as someone who would so easily discard me when it mattered most. I realized that I didn't need to wait around for someone who would never step up to the plate, and that I couldn't put my safety in the hands of someone who thought my life wasn't worth fighting for. I've been working on making arrangements, saving up, and getting myself to a place where I could be independent. It's been a lot of hard work, but it feels like the only way forward. The final straw came when I told him I was leaving. I thought, maybe, just maybe, he'd try to make things right. But no, he didn't apologize, didn't even ask if I was sure. He simply shrugged, said, "Do what you want," and walked away. That was the last time I had any kind of meaningful conversation with him. Now I'm on my own, and while it's scary, it's also freeing. I've been learning how to rely on myself, how to stand up for myself when the world feels like it's crashing in. It's been hard. I'm not going to lie and say it hasn't been a huge emotional struggle, but there's a sense of power that comes from knowing I'm the one who decides my fate now. As for my dad, I don't know what the future holds for our relationship. I've stopped expecting him to change. I've accepted that I can't rely on him for support or protection. And honestly, I don't want to keep holding on to a relationship that's so one-sided. Maybe one day he'll realize what he lost, but I can't waste my life waiting for that moment. I've learned the hard way that if I want to be safe, I have to take that responsibility into my own hands. No one else is coming to save me. So that's it. I'm moving forward, building my own life, and finding peace in knowing I don't have to rely on someone who wouldn't be there when it mattered most. It hurts, but it's also a relief. I'm finally free to be my own protector. Thanks to everyone who offered support, advice, and kind words during this whole process. I don't know what's next, but I know I'm stronger for it.